Rank 1, the loader. You're inside a metal box, it weighs 60 tons. The engine is screaming, the ground is shaking, and somewhere outside, something is trying to kill you. You can't see the sky. You can't run. You can't hide. All you can do is trust the man next to you, do your job, and pray that every decision you made up until this moment was the right one. This is tank life. And it doesn't start here. It starts at the very bottom. It starts with you not knowing anything, and what happens between that first day and this moment, inside a machine built for war. That's the story we're telling today. Because every rank changes you. Every rank costs you something, and by the time you reach the top, you won't even recognize the person you used to be. Let's go. You show up on your first day thinking you're ready. You're not. Nobody is. You're assigned to a crew. 4 men. 1 tank. And your job, the lowest job on that crew, is to load the main gun. Sounds simple, right? Pick up the shell. Push it in. Done. Wrong. That shell weighs close to 50 pounds. It's long, it's awkward, and the space you're working in is roughly the size of a bathroom closet, except the floor is moving, and people are yelling, and every second you take too long, somebody gets to point that out to you. Your hands are too slow. Your body isn't used to this yet. You drop a round on day 3. Nobody gets hurt. But the silence after it hits the floor is louder than anything you've ever heard. Your commander looks at you. Doesn't say a word. That look says everything. You lie awake that night going over it in your head. You replay it again and again. And here's the thing about being a loader that nobody tells you. It's not just physical. It's psychological. Because you are the last step before the gun fires. If you're slow, the gunner misses his window. If you fumble, the crew is exposed. If you fail, everything falls apart. You carry that weight before you even understand what it means, but you keep showing up. You start doing reps on your own time. Before breakfast, after training. You build the muscle. You build the rhythm. Load, seat, clear. Load, seat, clear. Over and over until it stops being a thought and starts being an instinct. And then one day, you do it fast. Really fast. And your gunner turns around and nods. Just a nod, nothing more. But that nod hits you like a floodlight. This is where it begins. Not with success, not with praise, with one nod from a man who barely speaks. You're a loader. You're the bottom, and you're exactly where you need to be. Rank 2, the driver. Months pass, maybe a year. You earn your next seat, the driver's seat. Now, you're at the front. Isolated. Alone in a small compartment at the nose of the tank. The rest of the crew is behind a wall of steel. You can hear them on the intercom, but you can't see them. You are driving 60 tons through terrain that doesn't want you there. Through mud that grabs at your tracks like it's trying to swallow you whole. Through slopes that make your stomach drop. Through tight tree lines where one wrong move takes off your own antenna, or worse, tips the whole machine. The tank does not forgive bad decisions. You learn this the hard way. Your second week. You're pushing through a training exercise, night operation, 0 visibility except for your instruments. The commander calls a direction, you turn too sharp. The right track digs in. For one horrible second, you feel the whole vehicle lurch. Your heart stops. The tank doesn't flip, but it's close. So close that everyone felt it, nobody yells. That's somehow worse. Your commander just says quietly, "Driver, be smooth." Be smooth. Those 2 words follow you for months. Because driving a tank isn't about power. It's about feel. It's about reading the ground before you reach it, anticipating the slope, managing the speed, protecting the crew from your own machine. You're not just operating a vehicle. You are keeping 4 men alive with your hands and your feet and your instincts. The loneliness of that compartment starts to shape you. You spend hours up there with nothing but the sound of the engine and your own thoughts. You start to develop a patience you never had before, a focus that crowds out everything else. You stop thinking about what people think of you. You start thinking about what the ground is going to do next. And when you finally get a crew that trusts your driving, really trusts it, where they're not grabbing onto handles when you push the speed, that feeling of quiet trust becomes something you protect with your life. You are not the loudest member of this crew, but without you, none of them go anywhere. Rank 3, The gunner, this is where things change. The gunner's seat is different from everything that came before it. As a loader, your job was speed. As a driver, your job was precision. As a gunner, your job is accuracy under the worst possible conditions. You are now looking through a sight system at a target that is moving, that may be partially hidden, that could disappear in seconds. And you have to hit it. Not eventually, now. The pressure is different here. It's surgical. Because you can do everything right, you can track correctly, you can account for wind and distance and lead angle, and still miss. And when you miss in training, you feel it in your gut, and when you miss in a real situation, people depend on the next round being perfect. You don't get the luxury of being shaky the first time you fire a live round from a main gun. The noise isn't what gets you. It's the concussion. It hits you in the chest like a wall, like the world suddenly compressed and then released. For a split second, nothing feels real, and then the dust settles. And you're staring through the sight looking for your impact. You hit it, and you feel something shift inside you. Something clicks. You start to live in the sight picture. You start to dream about trajectories. You study ballistics not because you have to, but because you need to. Because one difference in range estimation can be the difference between a hit and a miss, between alive and not. You become obsessed. Your roommates think you've gone quiet. You haven't gone quiet. You've just moved somewhere inside yourself that's hard to come back from. The gunner carries a specific kind of loneliness. Because when the shot is taken, the whole crew held their breath for you. When it hits, you all breathe. When it misses, you sit with that alone. There's no shared blame at the trigger. You learn to hold that, to not let it break you. And months into this role, something unexpected happens. You stop fearing the shot. You start trusting yourself. Not arrogance, not cockiness. Trust. The quiet, solid kind. The kind that was built through hours of reps and misses and corrections and more reps. You are accurate now. Reliably accurate. And the crew knows it. That changes the way they look at you. That changes the way you look at yourself. Rank 4. The commander. This is the moment most people fail. Not because they're not good enough, but because they don't understand what they're stepping into. When you become a tank commander, you stop being a crew member. You become responsible for the crew. There is a difference, and that difference is enormous. Now, you are standing in the hatch, above the armor, head and shoulders exposed, eyes scanning the battle space, processing everything. The terrain, the threat, the position of friendly elements, the status of your vehicle, the readiness of your men, and you have to take all of that, all of it, and turn it into a single, clear decision, fast. The first time you give an order under real pressure and it goes wrong, something happens to you that is hard to describe, because it wasn't your hands that failed, it wasn't your body, it was your judgment. And judgment feels more personal than anything else. You lie awake that night staring at the ceiling. You run through every second of it, what you saw, what you missed, what you should have said, what you said instead. You start to understand why the commanders before you always looked tired. It's not physical exhaustion, it's the weight of knowing that your call is the one that matters, that your crew is acting on your words, that if you hesitate, they hesitate. If you panic, they feel it. If you break, they have nothing left to hold on to. So you learn to control something no rank before this required you to control. Your voice, your face, your fear, because your crew is watching you constantly, even when you don't notice. They read your body language before you open your mouth. They feel your confidence or your doubt before a single word leaves you. You stop showing doubt, not because you don't have it. You have plenty of it. But because doubt is yours to carry privately. You start making faster decisions. Not reckless ones, faster. You realize that a decent decision made quickly is worth more than a perfect decision made too late. You start to understand what command really is. It's not about being the most skilled. You have a gunner for that. It's not about knowing the machine best. You have a driver for that. It's not about physical strength. You have a loader for that. Command is about reading the full picture when everyone else can only see their piece of it. It is about being the mind when everyone else is the body. And the hardest part of that, the part they never warn you about, is that you have to make peace with the fact that you will sometimes be wrong, and someone else will pay for it. You carry that. You carry it every single day. But you don't put it down, because putting it down means you've stopped caring. And the moment you stop caring about the cost of your decisions is the moment you become dangerous. The best commanders you'll ever meet aren't fearless. They're afraid of exactly the right things. Rank 5, the platoon leader. You commanded one tank and it nearly broke you. Now you command multiple. Welcome to your new reality. You are no longer inside the fight. You are above it, looking at a map, talking on a radio, moving pieces across terrain you can see in your mind, but not always with your eyes. Your crews are out there executing, and you are the one who set them in motion. The weight doesn't double, it multiplies, because now when you make a call, it doesn't affect 4 men, it affects all of them. And the space between giving an order and knowing the outcome, that space is where you will learn to live. That space is silence. And it's the loudest silence you've ever experienced. You start to understand coordination in a completely different way. It's not just about one machine anymore. It's about how 3 or 4 machines work together. Their positions relative to each other, their fields of fire, their blind spots, the timing of their movements. One tank out of position can expose another. One crew that moves too early collapses the whole plan. You start to see the battlefield like a chessboard, and you are responsible for every piece. The leadership pressure here is different from the commander's seat. When you were a commander, your crew saw your face. They could read you. You could read them. There was intimacy in that tight space. Now, your crews are spread out across terrain. You talk to them through a handset. You can't see their eyes. You can't feel the temperature of the situation the way you could from inside the hatch. You are managing trust across distance. And when one of your commanders, a man who was sitting where you once sat, calls you with a real problem, under real pressure, and he needs an answer right now, you realize something. He is looking at you the way you once looked at your commander. He is trusting you completely. That weight is different from anything that came before. Because before, you were trusted with a machine. Now you are trusted with men, real men, with families, with fears, with everything to lose. And you carry that differently. You start thinking about training in new ways. You start thinking about the decisions you make during peacetime, because you understand that peacetime decisions are what shape wartime performance. You stop sleeping like you used to, not because of nightmares, but because your mind won't stop working. You're always 2 steps ahead, running scenarios, checking contingencies, asking yourself, if this changes, then what? And if that changes, then what? You become someone who is always partially somewhere else. Your friends notice it. Your family notices it. You notice it too. But you don't stop, because the moment you switch off, someone might pay for it. Rank 6. The legacy years have passed. You've forgotten what it felt like to not carry this weight. You've sat in every seat. You've felt every kind of pressure this life can produce. You've been the one fumbling with a heavy round in a dark, tight compartment. You've been the one threading 60 tons through terrain that fought back. You've looked through the gunner's sight at a target and made peace with pulling the trigger. You've commanded from the hatch with the wind in your face and fear in your chest that nobody else could see. And you've stood on high ground with a radio in your hand and watched your decisions play out in real time. You've been wrong. And you've been right, and the times you were wrong kept you awake longer than the times you were right. Now, younger men come to you. They sit across from you and ask questions about technique, about leadership, about how to handle fear, about how to make good decisions under pressure. And you realize that the answer is never what they expect. You don't tell them to be fearless. You tell them to be honest about their fear and do the job anyway. You don't tell them to trust their instincts from day one. You tell them instincts are built through repetition and failure, and more repetition. You don't tell them leadership is about authority. You tell them it's about being the last person to break. And when they look at you like you have all the answers, you remember the version of yourself that looked at your commanders the same way. And you know you still don't have all the answers. You just know which questions to ask. The legacy isn't about how many rounds you fired. It isn't about how many miles your tracks covered. It isn't about the medals or the rank or any of it. The legacy is the men who came up under you who are now sitting in that commander's hatch, carrying that weight and making good decisions because somewhere along the line, Someone showed them what it looked like to not give up under pressure. That someone was you. And somewhere, someone did that for you. The machine gets replaced, the technology changes, the tactics evolve, but what stays constant, what has always been constant, is this: 4 men in an iron box trusting each other completely, doing their jobs when every instinct says to stop. That never changes. And that's a thing worth passing on. You started as someone who didn't know anything. You dropped around on the floor on day 3 and thought your career was over. And now you understand something that nobody can hand you, that no classroom can teach, that no textbook can give you. You understand what it costs to be good at something that matters. You understand that fear is not the enemy. Comfort is. You understand that the heaviest thing you will ever carry isn't a 50-pound round or the weight of 60 tons of steel. It's the responsibility for the men beside you. And if you carried that responsibility honestly, if you let it make you better instead of making you bitter, then everything you went through was worth it. Every sleepless night, every mistake replayed in the dark, every moment you wanted to quit, but didn't. It all added up to this, and now, you stand at the other side of it, changed completely. And the only question left is this: what do you do with what it made you?